Remember that a service is where you would put view-independent logic. At first, services seem very similar to controllers. Both of them provide data to an application. A major difference is that services are not intended for just one view. A service is not tied to a specific controller, but can be used by any number of controllers. For example, this user service has information about the logged-in user. An account controller could use the user service to supply data to its template. And there's also the navigation controller, which needs the user information. The user service can be injected into both controllers since it's just a source of data and functionality. In our app, we might want data from the menu items to be displayed in other locations. So let's generate a service to detangle our menu data from this specific controller and template. Then we'll see how we can inject it into a controller. We can generate a service with the Angular generator by running yo Angular service and providing a name for the service. Well, this should look familiar since it starts out exactly like a controller. We get our apps module, create a new service with a name, and then provide the function. Just like with controllers, when we call service on the module, this name and function are being stored with Angular's injector. When a controller asks for a service with this name, Angular knows where it's located and how to create it. Since the Food Finder service will be in charge of all menu information, let's move this data to a JSON file and convert it to proper JSON. We'll use the Food Finder service to fetch this file. Let's create a getMenu function and use jQuery to fetch the JSON file. So we've extracted the menu and set up the service. Now we just need to hook the service and the controller together. The format to inject a service into a controller looks a little odd, so let's take it step by step. First, I'll highlight the entire function. Then I'll copy it and delete it. To inject something into a controller, we need to pass an array of things to inject. So add an array, give the names of the services we want to inject. For now, it's just the Food Finder service. Then paste the controller back in. The service is now being injected into the controller as an argument. To use the service, though, the controller needs to store it in a variable, so I'll add a variable with the name menu here. To get the menu, we need to call Food Finder's getMenu function. Since getMenu uses jQuery, it returns a jQuery deferred object, similar to a promise. We call then, and when our data gets returned, we can set it to this items. Since the this keyword is contextually based, this in here isn't the same as this out here. We'll just use lexical scope to fix this. Typically, the variable VM for viewModel is used. And we're still showing the exact same information, but now the data is not tied to this specific view. There's no limit to the number of services that can be injected. Anything that needs to be injected comes first in the array. Then the function that's receiving everything comes at the end and has variables for each injected service in the same order.